Now, class, picking up where we left off at, we will start with B here. This is still objective 2, but we're doing B. So we look here first. We see that we have parentheses. We notice we cannot do anything inside the parentheses, but we also notice that we will be solving for x. But we need to get all of the x values on one side. So what we need to do here, let's distribute first. So this will give us 7. We'll take a minus 2 times 5, which will give us a minus 10. A minus 2 times a minus 4x will give us a positive 8x. And that equals, we'll bring down our 3x. This minus sign in front of the parentheses changes the sign of both of the values inside of the parentheses. This will give us a minus 8 and a plus 3x. Now we combine like terms on our respective sides of the equal sign. 7 minus 10 is negative 3, plus 8x is equal to 3x and 3x will give us 6x minus 8. Now we need to get all of the variables on one side. So we can subtract 6x on both sides. And we will have negative 3 plus 2x is equal to negative 8. Now we will add 3 on both sides. And we will have 2x is equal to negative 5. Now we will divide each side by 2. And we will have x is equal to a negative 5 halves. Now we can convert this to a decimal. So we will have x is equal to a negative 2.5. And that would be our final answer. Now we scroll down here to C. We have 1/6x minus 3/8 is equal to a negative 2/3 x plus 3/4. Now before we do anything, let's get rid of these fractions. Let's find the common denominator of 6, 8, 3, and 4. Now the common denominator of these four terms is actually 24. So we can multiply everything by 24 over 1. Now I know that traditionally you will see it in the front, but it doesn't matter if it's in the front of the problem or in the back of the problem. You still would multiply it the same. So you add 24 over 1 times 1/6x minus 24 over 1 times 3/8 is equal to, you will have 24 over 1 times a negative 2/3 x, and you will have a positive 24 over 1 times 3/4. Now, when we multiply this, 24 over 1 times 1/6, we know that would give us 4x, because this would be 24 over 6, which is 4, and we'll bring down our x. Now, a negative times a positive, we know will give us this minus sign. Now, we can do some simplifying here. 8 goes into 8 once, 8 goes into 24 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9, and we know that would be 9 over 1, which is just 9. Next, we will have this 3 and 24. 3 goes into 3 once, 3 goes into 24 8 times. So a positive 8 times a negative 2x, which will give us a negative 16x. Next, we will have 24 times 3/4. 4 goes into 4 once, 4 goes into 24 6 times. 6 times 3 is 18, so that will give us a positive 18. Now, we didn't write the 1 in the denominator because we know anything divided by 1 is itself. Now, this looks a lot better than what we started off with. So now, let's get all of the x's on the same side. So we can add 16x on both sides. So we will have 20x minus 9 is equal to 18. Now we will add 9 on both sides. So we will have 20x is equal to 27. Now we divide each side by 20. And we will have x is equal to 27 over 20. Now, when you put this in your calculator, this will give you a final answer of x is equal to 1.35. Now, you can leave this either way. because we started out with fractions. You can leave this as a decimal or you can leave this as a fraction. Now, we scroll on to objective 3. Brief review of solving equations for a specific variable. When you are asked to solve for a specific variable, it means that you need to get that variable by itself on one side of the equation. Now, example 6, solve for the specified variable. Now, if you notice, you're given an equation here, but you're given a variable to solve for here. So we're solving for x. When you see that word for, that means solve for this variable. So now we need to get x by itself. So we add n is equal to 2x plus 5y. So we can first subtract 5y on both sides. So we have n minus 5y is equal to 2x. Next, remember, we want to get x by itself. So we would divide each side by 2. So we would have n minus 5y all over 2 is equal to x. Now, you could have left this as your answer, or you could have divided each one of these individual terms by 2. So you could have taken n over 2 minus 5y over 2, and that still would equal x. So either one of these is the correct answer. Now, we come here to B. We want to solve for A. So we'll do the distributive property here to be 3a minus 6 plus 4b is equal to 6. Now we can add 6 on both sides. So we add 3a plus 4b is equal to 12. Now again, we're trying to get a by itself. So we would subtract 4b on both sides. So we would add 3a is equal to negative 4b plus 12. Now we would divide each side by 3. And we have a is equal to negative 4b plus 12 all over 3. Now just like in our previous problem, we could have did this or. A is equal to, this would give us a negative 4/3 b, or negative 4b over 3. And we know 12 divided by 3 is 4. So it'd be plus 4. So either one of these is the correct answer. Now we scroll down here to C. Now this problem here, if you notice, we're solving for y, but we have fractions here. So I would suggest, like we did in the last problem, I would suggest that we multiply everything by the common denominator of 4, 3, and 9, which is 36. So now, I'm going to write the 36 over 1 here, but you all know that that is a 4y there. So now we will multiply. We will add 3/4 x times 36 over 1 minus 2/3 y times 36 over 1 is equal to a negative 7/9 times 36 over 1. You don't have to write that parenthesis. Let me take that out for your notes. You don't have to write that parenthesis. You could have just did it like the rest. Okay, now we can do some cross simplifying. 4 goes into 4 once. 4 goes into 36 9 times. 3 times 9 is 27. So that will give us 27x. And we know this will be over 1, but we don't have to write the 1 here. Now we look here. We have a negative times a positive, so we know we're going to have a minus sign here. But 3 goes into 3 once. 3 goes into 36 12 times. 2y times 12 will give us 24y. Now that equals a negative times a positive, we know it's negative. 9 goes into 9 once. 9 goes into 36 4 times. 7 times 4 is 28. Okay, now we want to get y by itself. So we would subtract 27x on both sides. So we have negative 24y is equal to a negative 27x minus 28. Now we would divide each side by negative 24. And this would give us y is equal to, now, negative 27x minus 28 over negative 24. Now this could be one of your answers. Or you could do this where you get rid of all of these negative signs. Or you could have it as 27x plus 28 all over 24. So actually, instead of using the word or, let's just put this as equal. Because remember, one other thing, we want this in the simplest form as possible. We know having it as positive, if we can, we should do that. Now the next thing we could do is this here. This is one of the answers. The other answer you could use, I'll put or here. You could take y is equal to 27x all over 24 plus 28 over 24. Now, of course, we could simplify this. We could divide both by 3 here, or we could just write this down here at the bottom. Y is equal to, now if we divide both of these by 3, this would be 9x over 8 plus 28 and 24. They both have 4 in common, so this would be 7, 6. So our final answer here would be, you could have it in a longer fraction as 27x plus 28 over 24. That could be one of your answers. You could have this as your answer, and you could have this as your answer. Either one is acceptable. And also another thing too, if you're not asked to put this in simplest form, you can also technically have this as your answer as well. But most times it would be the positive and also the fraction. And that is it.